their child's future before he even had a chance to walk up life. Saw into the child's future and said, we're going to name our child Warrior and Strength, instead of naming him names that one does not understand. So they named him because they knew what he was going to become. And that's the same way that we have to look at our children. As they're young, we have to take them as an arrow, the Bible says, in the quiver, and we shoot them in the direction that we want them to go. We know better than they do, and so we have to take the forefront, the leadership role. We have to be the anchor in the family. We have to tell them what they will become. Then I don't mean tell them exactly like you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an Indian chief, but you're going to be successful. You're going to be a provider. You're going to be strong in the Lord. Why would a prostitute, the baby's dad, name him something like that from the very beginning? It's the same reason why we should put names on people and places and things today. You call those things that be not as if they were. A prostitute's son and a poor immigrant widow woman became ancestors to Jesus Christ. Then God shows his power by taking the two of them and making moves in their life. Good God Almighty, I feel something in here right now. Because I know there's about 20 of you all in here this morning where God is making moves in your life. You don't understand what's going on right now. You may be in a dilemma. You may be confused. Let me tell you, have no doubt at all, my God is just making moves in your life. Naomi and Ruth were two poor widow women. They were childless, left alone in a male-dominated society. When you look inside of the context of Bethlehem, the few jobs that they had were all filled by men. Women did not even have jobs in Bethlehem. Women were supposed to take care of the house. The men had the jobs and the women stayed at home. And when your husband passed away, if you didn't have a male child that was old enough to go to work, then the mothers, the women, had to suffer in poverty. But in the midst of all of that, in the midst of our dilemmas, God still shows his love and he still shows his care. The Bible is always relevant. I don't care what verse you read, what chapter you read, there's always something in the book that pertains to our life right now. It's always relevant. Yes, it is a history book. It is his story. But it's also a right now book. It's also a book that will show us the future. What kept Naomi and Ruth going? What kept them strong and moving forward? What kept them in faith is that they still believed, in spite of the situations that they were faced with, they still believed in God. So how many of you out there this morning are going through something right now, or been through something in your past, and the only thing that just keeps you going is that you stayed anchored in the Lord? You kept your faith and you didn't waver like a ship out on the sea with no sail. Naomi and Ruth were totally unaware of what God was doing behind their back. I know there might be some people out there listening this morning that you are fearful about what your tomorrow is going to be. But let me encourage you, God is moving behind your back. And God is working on your behalf right now. You just don't know what he's up to. I know that it's COVID-19 season. I know that I can't ask you to give nobody a high five. I know, I can't tell you to lean on one. But if you can just point to somebody and say, God is working on your behalf. Hallelujah. See, God is working behind the scenes because he can't trust you. If God told you what he was up to, you would mess around with your next week. You would be all in your next month. And you would mess some stuff up because God already has your tomorrow already planned out. And the only thing, if you knew what you was up to, you would just interfere and mess it up. So look at yourself and say, self, I'm glad that you don't know what God is up to right now. Hallelujah. Ruth suggested to Naomi, she said, Naomi, I want to go to the field. I want to find somebody to work for. I want to go into the field and find somebody this kind that would allow me to go into the field and glean. Now let me tell you about the law of farmers. I think it will help put it all in perspective. There is a law in the book of Leviticus chapter 19 verses 9 and 10. And it says, and when you reap the harvest, this is the law. When you reap the harvest, he's talking to the owners. When you reap the harvest, he's talking to the person who planted the seed that's responsible for the harvest, that it belongs to them. He says, and when you reap the harvest, when you have planted the seed and it's harvest season, thou shalt not wholly, W-H-O-L-L-Y, reap, which means you only reap a portion of the field. Thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field. He says, reap the field, but in the corners of the field, he says this. He says, leave something to glean. Lord have mercy. I hope you're looking at this with me this morning. He says, and you shall not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou gather every grape of thy vineyard. Thou shalt leave them for the poor and the strangers. I am God. God is telling them that if you own land and you have a farm, that you can have one harvest and not two. Because when you're harvesting an apple tree or an apple vineyard or a grape vineyard or a